everyone. Welcome to another episode of DX Chats. I'm Bentley. I'm a developer advocate at Atlassian, and I have an awesome guest to come join us and talk about their experience building on the Atlassian cloud. So, Jack Graves, if you will introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jack Graves. I'm the head of product for AppFox, which is an Atlassian vendor. We make apps for Jira, Confluence, and Trello. And our parent company is Automation Consultants, which is a platinum partner. So we're a gold partner with Marketplace and a platinum partner as a solution on the solution side.
Jack's bringing the heat with the nice background. It's got the name. It's got gold Marketplace. You got to get the platinum on there too. You got to really flex. Cool. Well, I've invited Jack has been building on Trello and Atlassian for a while, and that is how I've gotten to know Jack. And so we're just going to chat about your history building on Atlassian and talk about the bumps that you hit and the wins that you found. So how did you get started? Like, what was your very first Atlassian cloud app or app? Did you start on server?
So the first app that I wrote was optimized for Jira, but it used to be called Cleaner for Jira, which wasn't the best name in the world. In fact, we had a trash can as the logo for the app. So yeah, that was the first app that I wrote, but it started off quite humbly, really. So I wasn't always a software developer. I was previously a consultant with the wider company. And I was working at a large bank and doing consultancy around sort of large instances. So this company had about 85,000 employees, or has 85,000 employees. And it kind of made me realize there was some challenges with operating Jira at scale, right? At that kind of scale. And so that was where I kind of found this problem out, and it appeared it was a problem that lots of companies were facing. So initially this started out as, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Script Runner. It has a functionality called canned scripts.
Yeah.
Which basically let you kind of write a plugin without writing a plugin.
Yeah.
So the app actually started out as like some canned scripts that I wrote in Script Runner. So shout out to Jamie Etchlin for sort of enabling that to happen. Yeah, and that sort of canned scripts, obviously that wasn't really something many people could use. That was something we used internally. But in my spare time, I wrote that into an app using, it was quite rudimentary at the time, like jQuery, which anyone that knows jQuery will not miss it at all.
Oh, come on. Don't knock it. I still reach back for jQuery when I need to get something done quickly.
Yeah, so the first version was quite rudimentary, but now it's developed, and since React came along, I mean, React really changed the game, really, for me at least. So yeah, it started off with a problem that a customer had, and I think this is one of the kind of key facts that I've always stuck to, which is you're not going to think of problems that people have stuck in your office. You're not going to know what people want. So the first thing I'd say is, there are no facts in your building. You need to go out and talk to people. And obviously consultancy is a great way of doing that, because you're being paid to be on the company site.
You're talking to all sorts of folks. Yeah. Okay. So that was how you got started. And when did you join Automation Consultants, AC?
It was about 6 years ago, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And so initially I was a consultant, but once we launched Optimizer, it became clear that there was a future, for product development. And my passion's always been development. So it was kind of a chance for me to look into that, and also a bit of entrepreneurialism, coming up with ideas. Atlassian's really been a key part of my career, really.
And did you, was that a Connect app?
Optimizer was a P2 app for server.
Okay. But you guys have since built some Connect. You have a suite of apps now. Some of them you still have some P2 apps, and you also still have a number of Connect apps.
Yeah, we're moving to being cloud. Well, we're cloud first now. So any new products we make are cloud first. And we're really seeing a shift at the moment from on-premise to cloud, which is I'm really happy about this. It changes. There's a few reasons why it's good. Number one is instead of getting yearly sales, which are unpredictable, with Connect or Forge or whatever cloud app you use, you're now getting a subscription. So it's like a subscription. So it means that your revenues are a lot more predictable than they were before. But also, developing on-premise had issues with, you have to keep your apps compatible. You have to do data center testing if you want to have a data center app. And obviously cloud kind of makes those, because cloud is backwards and forwards compatible, you don't need to worry about those.
What were the like learning bumps that you ran into building on cloud? I mean, it's a huge change going from P2 to cloud. Like running web services is a thing, is a magic black box in and of itself. What were the like bumps you remember along the way of your building those first Connect apps?
So I think one of the first challenges was the architecture. So I don't know if you're obviously familiar, but there's kind of like a triangle architecture here. So you've got your cloud app, you've got the client, and then you've got the actual Atlassian cloud. So you've got this sort of three-way data pyramid, if you will. So you've got to deal with obviously your server, you need to host that, you need to communicate with the Atlassian app, but your customers also need to be able to render web pages that you've done. So initially that was quite a challenge to sort of understand that. And obviously the hosting part, that gets quite complicated when you're talking about like worker systems and things in the background or queues, things like that.
Right. You went from, I assume, shipping like a jar to running like a full-blown like web services architecture with, all those things, all the caching, persist, like you are now responsible for all of that. So, okay.
Yeah.
You and I first met when you guys started publishing, building Trello app, Trello Power-Ups. You were one of the first ones to kind of make the move from the Atlassian marketplace and ecosystem to Trello, because Trello was new to Atlassian and still to this day is not part of the Atlassian ecosystem. Why did you make the move to decide to make the move to Trello?
So I think Trello's really been a bit of a breath of fresh air. Just those two key concepts, lists and cards. That's all you need to understand. You've got lists and you've got cards. And I think it's kind of opened up I would say like agile working to a broader audience. So it's similar to Jira, but different, in that anyone can pick it up and use it. And I think the fact that it's got, 50 million users now, maybe even more than that, it's just stands out as how intuitive it is. But as a power-up vendor, obviously, I think the simplicity is good because you've got a big market, you've got a simple sort of core functionality, but you can easily build upon that and you can add quite advanced functionality to Trello. It's a really good platform for that.
Did you, in the similar way that you went out and talked to companies about the problems that they were having and figured out, use that as the means of figuring out what you wanted to build for Jira and whatnot? Were there pains that people had expressed to you or that your team had internally with Trello that kind of was the genesis for the power-ups that you ended up building?
Yeah, so I think one of the problems one of our customers had was kind of getting approval on cards. So they were currently using like comments. They were putting comments on cards to say, I've looked at this, I approve it. And this is something that we previously had proven with approvals for Confluence, which is another app we made. So approvals are something that pervades like most organizations.
Yeah.
It was really like, I'm going back to it again, like it's finding out those problems. That's the key. You're not going to think of the problems people have sitting in your office.
Are you kind of in a similar vein? I know that you've also built on Forge. Have you built the approvals app on Forge yet?
Not yet, no. So our Forge, the last hackathon, the Codegeist, was where we kind of got the rest of the team involved. So I've been following Forge closely, but it was really that hackathon, Codegeist 2021, which is where we started to test the boundaries and see what we could do with it. So that was a really great opportunity. I think I'd encourage anyone to get involved in the Codegeist hopefully it'll happen next year as well.
Did you the way you attacked Forge, was it something where you approached it with wanting to rebuild the things that you currently had, or did you go in just totally greenfield, let's try building something new that kind of played to the strengths of Forge?
So I think that's a good question. So I think when we started to use Forge, I think there's two people that you're kind of targeting. One is the greenfield sites where, you haven't got an app yet and you want to make one. I think Forge is the best place for that because, the documentation's better. And yeah, it's also the dev tools, ngrok. You don't need to use that with Forge, for example. It's all sort of built into the stack. So yeah, we took the hackathon as a chance to kind of do a brand new, just sort of give my developers a chance to sink their teeth into it and see what they can do.
Yeah, and I guess if you are already using React for some of your Connect apps and for PowerUps, and we'll get to more of the stuff that you've done with PowerUps, I assume that Forge's custom UI, as well as UIKit, probably felt familiar to you and your team.
Yeah, so I love the custom UI. Once I sort of figured out how to use it with Webpack and TypeScript, that was kind of the key moment where I was like, wow, we can actually carry across a lot of the features and the front end that we have on our Connect apps. And also UIKit. Clearly, if anyone's familiar with React and they try using UIKit, they'll see there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah. So. Oh, that's kind of cool. I've not talked to anyone about this with Webpack and pulling over prior art, right? You guys have a bunch of front end code already written for your Connect apps. And I know because I know you and I've seen your work before. I know that you guys are good about writing modular code that has low coupling. Were you able to kind of take some of that front end that you had for your Connect apps and use Webpack to build it into a custom UI on Forge? So you got a little bit of code reuse out of what you'd already built?
Yeah, I think so. Sort of the longer term piece of us sort of moving our apps, the first stage is very much going to be the UI. If we can shift the UI from our own static CloudFront, distribution to Forge, I don't know. It's just a lot quicker. If you've used Forge apps, it's kind of like very quick for it to load. Whereas with the Connect, you get this sort of spinner, and it's a bit jarring sometimes with Connect.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a good segue into the amazing work that you all have done on the PowerUp front. One of the things that a lot of folks ask when they first start building PowerUps, and especially coming from the Atlassian marketplace, is licensing and building a thing. And as of today, November 19th, 2021, it has not been a thing. It is not currently a thing. And you all saw an opportunity to jump on that. And so you built Optro. Can you dive in, give the elevator pitch of Optro?
Yeah, so at the moment, Trello, as you say, doesn't have a monetization platform. And what this has caused is fragmentation of the market. So what you'll see is different PowerUps from different vendors have different payment systems. So what you'll find is customers, at least myself as a customer, I don't want to give my credit card details to 50 different vendors separately and have to remember that I've got a subscription with that company. And not just this, but also at the moment, a lot of PowerUps can only register one person. So you'd have to buy a license for that PowerUp. So I think one of the key ways we can really empower vendors is to create a centralized system where your customers only have to put their credit card in once and they can purchase multiple apps. But not just this, but also taking the work you did for Trello development, which is on Glitch, if you want to check it out. But also we've kind of applied a bit of opinionation, shall we say, to that and built a generator tool, which we really want to encourage people to get into Trello development because, as I said earlier, in 2 weeks, you can build a whole Trello app, as a hackathon or something. You can build a useful app. And I don't know many places where you can do that. There's not many places you can learn the framework that quickly. And so I think it's a really good opportunity for new developers starting out to do that. But obviously there's a boundary. A lot of developers will say, well, if I can't make money on it or I can't monetize it easily, then I won't build the power up. So I think there's some key ways we can empower developers to build on Trello and also make money, be profitable as well.
Making money is cool. I heard that's a thing that motivates people. Yeah, what do you're I was blown away when you guys shared the power up generator that you built. Talk more about its opinionation, what opinions it has. It's, if I'm not mistaken, it's TypeScript, which is a thing I will force myself to really fully understand and be confident in one day. Yeah, give us more of a breakdown of what the generator does and why you should use it.
Yeah, so at the moment you've got there are things online available to show you sort of the lowest level of how a power up works. But we've really endorsed TypeScript. I recommend any developer that does JavaScript, you should probably move to using TypeScript because if alone for obviously linting, code completion, but also you don't need to document as much as your code.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Oh, go. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So obviously we used what we've learned to build this generator, which allows you to build a full power up with every capability enabled and examples of how they work, like how the API works. And TypeScript enabled us to actually allow code completion on the Trello API, which before wasn't possible. So when you type T dot, it can automatically complete, what's available and also tell you what will be returned by that. So that kind of makes it a lot less sort of digging through docs and trying to figure out what it does. And now you can just sit in your IDE, VS Code or IntelliJ and just sort of type stuff in and see what it does. So yeah, TypeScript's powerful in that way, I think. And it's, if anyone knows JavaScript, any code you've written in JavaScript is already compatible with TypeScript. So so that was one part, TypeScript, and the other part is React. So at least for myself, React was a massive game changer for me in development. Before, when you couldn't use state and you had to actually change everything manually, that was just, it made you have to think in a different way. It made your code very verbose. So for me, maybe it's just my opinion, but React has been a massive game changer for everything. So building your front end on React means you can leverage vast numbers of libraries from Atlas Kit to material design. And you can just take stuff off the shelf. It really endorses what we should do as developers, which is code reuse. If someone's made a brilliant button component, why would you write your own?
Yeah. Well, everyone, I'll try to link to that in the description because it is beautiful. You guys have done an amazing job. You've done a better job than Trello has done at building that. So kudos. But
thanks. If anyone's interested, you can run this on your command line if you've got npm installed. Hopefully we can put some links up for that and see what people think.
Yeah. I want to change. So this has been very kind of technical, but I think one of the things that's really interesting about you and your journey through the Atlassian ecosystem and Trello is that you've also been involved in the running the business side, right? Like, I think that's one of the things that people sometimes forget, and we get a lot of questions about that. It's like writing the code. If you are an engineer, writing the code is the fun part, and usually it's the easy part. Running a business is the hard part that people tend to forget about. And I know that's a thing that you have been involved in, and especially on Trello, you're one of the first to really make a go of it there. What's the experience been running a business? Like, what are the highs and lows for people getting started on specifically building for cloud Atlassian? What advice would you share?
So I've been fortunate that my director, Francis, has been really supportive of me and sort of given me the latitude to sort of build those learnings and also build my expertise. And everything's not been plain sailing. We have had one thing I've learned is, you you're always going to have successes and failures. You're always going to have failures. It's not about, you can't look at a failure like it's a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing because you've learned something. It's about testing. Making products is kind of about testing your hypothesis of, I think people want this, or this person needs this. So I'd say one of the key things I could say is don't develop your product for everyone. Develop it for like 1 or 2 clients, or maybe 3 clients that you know exist and they're real. Because what you risk with building a product that everyone wants is you won't hit the target for anyone. And, you need to have those, I think they're called early evangelists, like the customers who you've got that you talk to and they love the product. So these aren't customers that you've given a discount because you want their feedback. These are customers who really want your product, and you need to take advantage, not in a bad way, of, getting feedback from them. If you're kind of working in a cave and you don't get that feedback loop, then that's how you get to problems. So one example is, amongst all the successes we've had, we also launched a product called Pulse for Jira, which was like an analytic tool for Jira. But this was just something that we kind of thought would be something people wanted. Now, it turned out that wasn't the case. And so that we discontinued that product, but we learned so much from that you can't really look at things in terms of that was a bad thing, I made a mistake. Actually, you learn a lot from it. So yeah, I think the Atlassian Marketplace is a great place to kind of build a product, build a proof of concept, make an MVP, and then put that on the marketplace and see how much interest you get. And then at that point, you can't have a strict roadmap. You need to be able to shift and respond to what people want.
Yeah. Do you like day to day, do you get on calls with your users? How often do you talk to an end user of one of your apps, and how, like, what is that like? You just shoot them an email and say, hey, like you said you wanted X. Can we riff on that for 30 minutes? So yeah, we sometimes it's from support calls. So you get a support call through or a demonstration call. And those are, some people look at them as like, oh, I need to do a support call with a customer. It's just to solve the problem. But actually, those are where you kind of get just having a bit of talk, having a chat with them and finding out what they think. Sometimes being a bit probing around, what do you think of this? So yeah, I at least once a week get on a call with a customer. And also we've built sort of a set of those key customers who like the software, and actually a lot of them have emailed us and sort of said, I want this or I want that. So yeah, it's all about that feedback loop. And obviously it's something that I've learned over time. It's not something that came naturally at the beginning, because some people have this kind of preconception that I know what's right. I've written a successful product, so I must know what people want. Yeah, that's not really the case. What has been like, looking back over your 6 years, what are like a memory that you have that was really where you were surprised, where you were just like, whoa?
Oh, that's a difficult one. There's lots. I think becoming platinum, becoming gold marketplace partner. I'm getting ahead of myself here. That was a massive moment. It was kind of made it all fall into place. Like, but to be honest, it was those first few sales that I got that kind of proved. You write an app that you think's good, and you've got some customers that use it. You put it on the marketplace, but when that takes off to sort of hundreds of installs, it's really nice to see your work kind of pay off, and you're solving problems for people. But yeah, that's a difficult question. There's probably lots of moments where it's been like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What other advice? Is there anything else that you would share with people getting started, beginning their Atlassian developer journey?
I'd say, just like I said, hackathons. I'd say, like, try not to build a massive product from the get-go. Try to solve a simple problem, and that will give you the exposure to kind of see what it's like. Like, I really think the Atlassian ecosystem is kind of unique in that you know, one person could write an amazing app and it could blow up, you know, and you don't need to invest in lots of resources. You don't need to have venture funding. You can do this, you know, on your spare time, and you're not going to get it right necessarily the first time. You need to just start cycling, you know, start getting it out there.
I love that you keep talking about hackathons. I feel like you're subtly trying to tell me that we need to have more hackathons.
No, I think it's like those, you know, if you're going to create a massive product, it could take 6 months to build. That's 6 months where you're not getting feedback from customers. That's 6 months where you're falling into this trap where you may be doing a waterfall model and you know exactly what you want to build. But I'd say, you know, build your MVP and see what people think of it first. Yeah.
I'm curious, are there things that you want to ask me? I've been hounding you with questions, but I realize that I should make myself available to questions. What questions do you have for me?
So I think one of the most interesting topics recently is so up to now, it's kind of been a bit confusing, the relationship between Forge and Connect, and vendors have been a bit worried, I guess rightly so. But recently there's been discussion of the harmonization of Forge and Connect. And I think that's what everyone's been asking for. So if you've got any more information on that, I think it's a multiple year journey almost that we're discussing here.
Yeah. And I am not the expert here. I would very much defer to the developer community.developer.atlassian.com. Because I think that's where we have probably been sharing the most information. And in particular, if you've been on the developer community, you've probably seen James Hazelwood or Jimmy. He has definitely been leading the charge. And I think that he's really been communicating a lot. And I know the ecosystem marketing team has been sharing blog posts as of late, and I certainly expect more. I assume I've been about Atlassian. I've not watched the webinar that we had earlier this week. Did you have a chance to catch that, the Forge webinar?
I've got the link. It's on my list to watch.
Yeah. It showed up in my email today. I was like, I need to watch that. I have a sneaking suspicion that harmonization was a thing that was talked about there. And I mean, I in the perspective I have is that we know that it's something that we have to get right, and it's important for us to get it right to continue to have vendors trusting us, because it's a big shift, and Forge is not a easy thing to grok if you're not already building in React. Like you are lucky in that you're familiar with React and TypeScript. If you're not building in React and TypeScript, moving to Forge is not like butterflies and rainbows. And I think we recognize that, and we want to be very cognizant of that. So yeah, I would, that's like a non-answer, I recognize, but I'm also not the expert there. But definitely tune in to the developer community if you don't already have eyes there, and look for more and more communications. I think that's a thing that we've heard from developers is like, hey, you can't just talk to us like once a year about this. Like, and I think that we're trying to get in the habit of communicating more often, and not just, I'll toot my own horn here, not just on the harmonization front, but I think kind of across the ecosystem, we're trying to get in the habit of bringing Atlassians to talk to developers more often. One of those initiatives is product team talk times. I just announced one for in 2 weeks with the ecosystem, with the enterprise readiness team. They reached out and they said, hey, we're thinking about these projects, and what do developers think? And I said, well, don't use me as a conduit. Like, let's just talk to developers. And we had one with security team a few weeks ago. And so we, Atlassian, are trying to bring Atlassians to talk to the developers more and more, and make that a habit in the same way that you're talking to users often. I think we should hold ourselves to having that same level of discourse with developers, hence why we're talking right now.
I think like I've definitely seen a change. So before I remember in 2018, I think it was, we went to the developer app week in Florida, and that was amazing. But back then, or what was that, 3 years ago or so, that was one of the only chances we got to really kind of talk to the developers. It was lovely, right? You can sit down with the people building Jira and talk about your app and kind of talk to them. And recently I've seen a massive change. Like we're currently working with Atlassian on a number of features for Connect and Forge, which we need. And I've seen a big change in engagement there, So yeah, I think it's a much more open now, talking about what modules people need. Obviously, you've moved into the Atlassian Developer Experience team from Trello. So yeah, I think that it's a great direction that it's moving in. There's probably not a better time to start.
If I could wave my own magic, you talking about App Week, and for anyone that doesn't know, App Week is an event that we have had, and we invite vendors to come and effectively hack on something for a week, and we try to usually make them somewhat focused, like, hey, we're working on this thing, and we want to have people that are going to be working on that thing both externally as well as internally. And it's this amazing like magic moment, having the Atlassian that's building the thing sitting beside the person that's building on the thing, and like running debugging issues together. And if I could just wave a magic wand and have that happen, I would. I think that's definitely been a pain that we've experienced. Obviously Forge is off and running, and we've made a lot of progress, but it's been a bummer that we've not in the past 2 years been able to have an app week and bring people together, because there is something magic about that. So definitely know that that's a thing that like once a month we're like, oh, can we have an app week yet? Or really any in-person event where we can bring Atlassians together to sit in the same room, because there's something magical about that. So yeah, one day.
Yeah, I hope again that the app week start up at some point. And yeah, like you said, it's not just a chance to talk to the Atlassians, but there's a great community of like, obviously, there's a lot of vendors, and some vendors compete with other vendors, but there's also a really nice sort of attitude and friendliness there that, we can all help each other at the end of the day. And I think obviously the summit or team now, that is a chance to do that, but it's less so development focused, obviously.
Yeah. What else? What other you swung to the fences with the spiciest of topics. Any other questions?
No, I don't think so. Not off the top of my head, no.
Cool. Well, Jack, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. I appreciate you sharing your sage advice. Yeah, we'll wrap it up then and call it a day. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Bentley.